Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of what I think I'm going to call the NXT Re-review. And okay, well, let me just explain what I'm trying to do here. Basically, lately I've kind of been I've had a little itch to scratch when it comes to NXT because I've always watched the takeovers from the very start. The arrival back in 2014, 2015. I've watched every big takeover show and big event. And I used to watch it weekly back then, but over the last couple of years, I've just kind of fallen behind so much that it's frustrating, and I kind of feel out of the loop anytime a takeover comes by. So I've over the last few months, I've been trying to come up with some sort of excuse to go back and watch some of the NXT weekly shows, and now with this whole podcast thing, I think I kind of have one. So what I want to try and do is go back to the very first episode of NXT and talk about it and put it up there for people to listen to. Maybe you can listen along. I'm going to try my best not to spoil stuff in future episodes or takeovers or results of matches. So I'm not going to do any predictions or anything, because chances are I know the result. But this could be fun. I think if I'm going to commit to it, if I'm going to commit to watching it, the only way for me to actually know I will is if I have pressure on myself, if someone listens, or I feel like I have to stick to a schedule, or else I'll just fall behind like I do with stuff usually. Like I did with NXT UK, for example. I'm pretty behind on that. I've been meaning to watch it for a while. So at least once a week. Maybe more big over the next few months, because I do want to have to catch up. Don't want to have to wait 500 weeks to catch up. I'm gonna go through all the NXT episodes. Now, there's one caveat to that though. We're starting on episode 122 from June the 20th, 2012. If you want to start watching along with me, that's where you want to watch it. And the reason we're doing it here is because NXT used to be something totally different. It used to be borderline reality show. And then, in the 122nd episode, they moved it to Full Sail. It's a small studio in a university in Orlando, Florida. And, they kind of just, they keep it there. They're still taping it there, like 400 episodes later. They're still taping NXT there, which it's kind of impressive to me, and it also gives us a cool jumping on point as to when the true NXT kind of officially begins. So if you want to watch along, that's where you start. NXT 122, June 20th, 2012. So feel free to pause it now. It's only a 40-minute episode, I think. I just finished watching it 2 minutes ago. It's decent, and we'll talk along to it. So opening the show, you had this it was like a corny intro thing, kind of the future is now thing. I don't know. It was okay. It was very he sounded the guy narrating it sounded like a really bad 80s trailer guy. And then they played the theme song, and the theme song was really bland, and I was like, oh no, what have I done? Why am I watching this? And then it showed Full Sail, the university where it's being taped, and it looked different, to be honest. I didn't expect it to. I kind of thought they had the same set the entire time, but yeah, I guess it makes sense that they change it. This is a lot more, I think, darker than what it turns into. They had a lot more yellow as it goes on, and they really have their own brand. It looks nice though. And then I was surprised because Jim Ross came out. I remember, oh yeah, he is a commentator. He used to work for WWE. And the commentating team for this, in case you don't know, in case you're just listening and you haven't, actually watched the episode, it's Jim Ross and William Regal. Two big names. And they're an okay commentating team as well. They're not very personality based here. It's much more play by play. And I do kind of like that. It's different, especially with what all the main roster commentating is, at least right now, or when I've been watching it. It's very heel face based personality, and they're very jokey. Whereas these two, they're much more serious, and I do kind of like that. It's different than what I'm used to, and I enjoy it. I really do. So yeah, Jim Ross comes out and he announces the new interim general manager. I don't know what that means. Basically, just general manager, I think. And this also surprised me. It's the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and he's full of charisma. He still has it, man. He comes out and he dances, and the crowd gets on board, and they're cheering and everything. And I don't know, The reason why that is a big deal, by the way, is because Dusty Rhodes played a very pivotal part in these early years of NXT, behind the scenes, getting talent ready. And when he passed away a few years back, it was a massive deal. They named an entire, special pay-per-view event, not after him, but like it was called Respect, and it was Respect out of Dusty Rhodes. And I think it's every year they have a tag tournament to like commemorate him. So I was surprised to see him on an on-screen role. I always thought it was backstage, but I guess I'm wrong. But yeah, he comes out, he dances, he gets the crowd on board. He does a really good job, and he's very short. He's just happy. He's doing his thing, and he announces tonight's main event, which is Tyson Kidd versus Michael McGillicutty, which I cannot spell for the life of me. They later changed Michael's name to Curtis Axel, and he's still Curtis Axel, and it is, look, it's not good. It's not good at all, but it's better. I can spell Curtis Axel. Then we get the first of many video packages talking about some new person that hasn't appeared yet. This one is on Bo Dallas, and I don't know, it's odd considering what he becomes, and I won't talk about what he becomes. It's very generic. It's different. It's his first time, so that's okay. I think this really is his WWE debut, as far as I'm aware. But he's very much going for like a white meat babyface type thing. He talks about how his smile is great or something. It's kind of odd. I don't know. I don't know if it's supposed to be a bit creepy, but it just kind of is. It's just kind of like weirdly unsettling, which I kind of like. Huh. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about him though. It's okay. Yeah. And then he comes out for a match against a man who I didn't recognize, called Rick Victor, which is, look, they got to work on names. We know that, because that is a ridiculous name. It's a very late 2000s WWE name, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised, but it's no good. It's just a showcase match for Bo. It's clear they want him to be a star or something, and it's okay. There's a lot of, it opens with a hold rest, which I've always said, if you're opening your match with a hold rest, it's the quickest way to fucking burn it to the ground, any hype that you could have possibly had. I do not like hold rests. I understand why they're necessary in the middle of a match, but they can really like destroy a crowd's enthusiasm. It didn't really happen here. It was a good crowd tonight, actually. I say tonight. It was a good crowd like 7 years ago, and they were very energetic. I was very surprised, to be honest. They were a really good crowd, and they kind of kept the same level of noise the entire way through. And I don't know, maybe they structured it really well when they were filming it, because I know they filmed 3 episode blocks. So this could be in any order. Maybe this was the last match they saw. I don't know. I should hope it wasn't, because it wasn't amazing. But Bo won, basically. And he's actually pretty good. I was kind of surprised, because he hasn't gone on to do much outside of NXT, so it was weird to see him actually be a decent wrestler, and I'm really interested to see moving forward on NXT how he improves. Then he goes up the ramp and he has this post-match interview at the top of the ramp, and he talks about his smile, and he says like, you will know Bo, and it's like, that's the worst catchphrase I've ever heard, but whatever. I don't. First week, I'll give you this one, Bo. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then there's a promo package, another one introducing. Next week, we're going to be seeing the first appearance of a man called Seth Rollins. It's a bit generic, but his hair is kind of cool. He has like this blonde streak of hair. It's weird, but it's okay. And then there's another promo package for Antonio Cesaro. He debuts next week as well. He's bald. He's supposed to be this like Swedish lady killer type thing. It's not bad. He doesn't look awful. He looks okay. And then we're going back in the ring for a minute. Damian Sandow and Jason Jordan. Jason Jordan, by the way, has the most ridiculous fucking hair I've ever seen. It looks so fucking stupid on him. It does not suit him at all. It's so weird. Look it up. Look up Jason Jordan's stupid hair, or just watch this episode. It is fucking atrocious. Yeah, I don't know I don't know why they let him wear this. I don't know why they made him wear it like this. It's awful. Anyway, Damian Sandow, the intellectual savior, he calls himself. It's a decent gimmick. He cuts a small promo. He gets What Chance, which, yeah, people don't really like the What Chance. I'm not too into him, but Damian handles him well. It's clear he's a decent talker. He calls Jason Jordan an ignoramus and says he won't fight him. And then he just leaves, and the crowd chants, "You suck." And then fucking William Regal on commentary is just there like, yeah, I'd say he probably is an ignoramus, yeah. It's so, I don't know, it feels kind of out of place, but I get that they're trying to build up his character. Maybe in the next few episodes he'll have something more to do. The Ascension, a tag team, a very fucking, it's a goth tag team. They get a promo package. It's real cheesy, man. It's kind of funny. It's like, it's not supposed to be, but it kind of is. But I don't know. I do like my weirder wrestling gimmicks, the ones that are a bit more odd. So I think I'll give them a proper shot. But I don't know, man. It's really cheesy. You gotta watch it. It's like they're on top of this building and it's night and they're staring down. It's, I don't know. It's weirdly done, but it's different, and that's what I like about it. And that's what I like about NXT as a whole. It's really different. There's a lot of weird gimmicks in there. A lot of them don't stick, but some of them do, and I think that works. Then we get this segment called Raw Rebound, which is just a recap, I guess, of what happened on the Raw a couple days previous. It's longer than any other segment on the show. I think it's longer than the Bo Dallas Rick Victor match. Like, what was this? This was so weird. It was just like, I get you want to put your brand awareness out there, but this was like a solid 5 minutes long, maybe. I don't know. It shouldn't have been on here. At least it shouldn't have been that long. Just a bit weird. Then the Ascension came out, and they had a match against Mike Dalton and CJ Parker, and it was just a squash. There's no two ways about it. Fucking Mike Dalton, I don't think got any time in the ring. I think it was just them wailing on fucking CJ Parker. It was impressive though, admittedly. The Ascension came off looking pretty damn good, so I guess it wasn't a total loss. But it was another short match, and there's already been a short match in the show, and it's a bit like, at this stage, it's your first proper show. I guess maybe at the time they didn't really view it like that, because it was 1-2-2 or whatever. But it's kind of your first show in this venue that you're going to be staying in, of this new format of NXT. And the first two matches have been kind of short and a bit shitty. Not shitty, they're okay, but they're not amazing. They're not showstoppers, you know? But I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, Mike Dalton doesn't get a tag. CJ Parker is fairly squashed, fairly easily. And they come off. They do look good, in fairness. Bray Wyatt then gets a little video package. He's coming soon, apparently. But his easily looks the best. There's actual, like, production value into it, in that he's kind of in the woods and it's a bit creepy. And he has this amazing music, which they later use for his theme music. And it's so good. It's a genuinely good song, which is so rare in, like, wrestling themes, especially early NXT. I think in the later years they get a couple of good themes in there, but fuck, man. It just, like, it's a really good song, and it's a fucking good promo package. And I think, like, some of the footage they use in there, they still use for Bray Wyatt years later, which to me shows you how good it is. He actually comes off looking cool and interesting, and I want to see him whenever. He's coming soon. Who knows when that'll be. Then there's a behind the scenes segment, like a backstage thing. It's outside a bathroom. It's Johnny Curtis, who looks a bit like Fandango, but I don't think it's Fandango. He's in the bathroom taking a piss. And Derek Bateman, which is the worst name I've ever heard. EC3, known in the indie scene. And when yeah, EC3 basically. I might call him EC3 by accident, if you're wondering. Fuck, I already did it. Derek Bateman comes into the bathroom. He's like, "Hey, Johnny Curtis," and they have this weird segment. It's a weird promo. It's very off the cuff. It's kind of clumsy. It's kind of funny. They make a couple good jokes. Like, Derek Bateman's like, "Aren't you gonna wash your hands?" And then Johnny Curtis just, like, wipes his hand on his fucking, what's it called? Shirt. It's clear that they didn't show this to the audience as well, because the audience are going fucking crazy. there must have been a match on at the same time, and they decided to just film it there. I don't know. It's a weird promo. They announced that they're gonna fight in next week's main event. So I guess considering how they tape these things three at a time, they couldn't announce multiple different main events. So they probably did this segment to announce that it'd be the main event of a show, and then they just had the match randomly on the tapings. I guess I don't know. That makes sense to me. And then we come to our final match of the night, our final segment, which is Tyson Kidd versus Michael McGillicutty, who later, Curtis Axel. So they gave him a good name. This also opens with a rest hold. Yeah. It comes back from that in fairness. It's actually a pretty good match, and the crowd get decently into it. It's actually impressive. I've never properly seen Tyson Kidd wrestle, and Curtis Axel's never really gotten the chance for when I've been watching, so I was kind of surprised that this was an actual decent match. Like, don't get me wrong, it's no 5-star, like Kenny Omega versus Okada, Dominion or some shit. But it was actually a good match. It was a good way to end the first episode. I think before this match, I was watching and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'd watch this again. I think if I just seen that first half an hour, I probably wouldn't have tuned in next week if I was watching at the time. And I think that would have been fair enough, and I think a lot of people would have disliked this a lot more. But this was an actual good match. And they were given like maybe 15 minutes to work with as well, so they actually had a decent amount of time. And there's an ad break in there as well, which for us is nothing because of the network. I guess maybe in real TV they cut the ads, but they must have had even more time in the live crowd, and you can tell because the crowd are way into it. There's a bit where Tyson goes through the ropes, the crowd are going crazy, and it's a good spot as well. There's a lot of rest hold bits, but as it goes on, I can understand it more because they need to just fucking chillax for a minute and catch their fucking breath. And they do them well as well, because a lot of the time when you do it, the crowd are cheering for like 10 seconds, and then the person takes just a little too long to like come back and fight off the heel, and then the crowd are a bit bored by it. But Tyson, they stay loud for Tyson, which I liked. Michael McGillicutty goes for the Tree of Woe, and he's hanging like Tyson Kidd upside down on the turnbuckle, and he comes in to like slide and kick his legs and his head, but Tyson Kidd brings his head up real quick, and McGillicutty goes like balls first into the ring post, which was good. It was really well timed actually. Michael McGillicutty, he uses the sharpshooter on Tyson Kidd, and they stressed earlier in the match that Tyson Kidd is, he has ties to the Hart family, who of course used that. They basically invented the sharpshooter, as far as I know. Or maybe I don't quote me on that actually, but they made it even more famous. So it's kind of Bret Hart's famous move or whatever. That gives him heat, in fairness, as he gets a good few boos. But then Tyson, he just ends up winning by submission anyway. And it's good. It's a good match. It's easily the best. It's probably the best thing on the show. Yeah, I'd say it is. It's actually decent. The whole show, on a whole, the show was good. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed watching it. And I think I'm going to do this again. I think that was my big fear. I'd watch this, I'd make this video, and then I would just never do it again. But I think that show was decent enough that I want to see where it goes. And NXT, if you don't know, becomes massive. Right now, it's considered one of the best things in wrestling. And having seen all the takeovers, I can totally see why. So I really want to keep up with this and maybe do it, once or twice a week to catch up and get to that period where I know it's supposed to be great and see if it really is all like everything it's supposed to be. And I'd say it will be, because I know the people in that period. I know a lot of the people on this show. I think I knew at least one person in every segment. And a lot of them go on to do amazing things. And and I know the history of some of the championships, so I'm really curious as to how that's all going to play out, and if I'm actually going to properly enjoy it, if I'm going to root for the right people, if I'm going to get a better understanding of some of the characters or whatever, or some of the people who they get called up to the main roster and just end up, not being used, and why people are so angry about that. There's a lot of people like that I have, maybe because I haven't seen anything on the main roster that's good from them, I just kind of go like, they're a bit overrated. Maybe this will help me understand why. So yeah. The commentary, they also very much played up the next big thing aspect. It didn't feel like modern NXT, where you're very clearly watching indie megastars fight in like 10-star matches or whatever. This was very, very much like they were playing up the, future is now type thing. And I like that. That was alright. So yeah, I think that's it for this review. Thank you for watching. Or listening, whichever. I can't imagine there's much to watch. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about it. And I hope you come back, and I hope you listen to the next time I do this, or listen to the podcast, the Hallway Wrestling podcast that I'm doing with Rain, or even tune in for one of my fucking live streams or something. I don't know. I've been Kieran. This has been the NXT Re-review. Guess I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you.